when it comes to the computer memory, now storage and memory have two different definitions, right? Now, when you say memory, we talk about the immediately accessible space towards the processor, right? So the operational memory, right? It's not about mass storage or storing the content for later use. It's about holding the content so that you have enough time to basically retrieve the content for processing. That is what memory simply is. So that is the simple most difference between memory and storage. Storage is for it's permanent in nature, it's for later use. But when it comes to memory, it's temporary. It might be temporary, it might be permanent as well. Usually it's temporary, but it's more of an operational type of data retaining units than to basically store for longer times, right? For long term storage. It's not about that. So memory is simply the unit of like the hardware parts that can be accessed by the processor to retrieve the instructions related to the programs and also the data that is used by the programs by the processor, right? So essentially, we learned that there are three pathways, right? That basically connects between the processor and the memory, right? Now, the thing with this is there you can see like the address bus and the data bus and the control bus. Now, these two units are sort of depending on each other in the sense the processor is mainly depending on the memory for uh, faster access for the data as well as the instructions. Now, the processor speeds have grown by leaps and bounds over decades of development. But memory, something like that we can observe, you'll see in a while, is that the development of the memory technologies that basically happened. But the problem is it was not like the difference between the processor speeds and the memory access speeds have the difference have grown like in a very significant manner that simply results in the memory not being able to cater to the demands of the processor fast enough, right? So if we just try to see the performance gap between the CPU versus the memory, right? So there's a time factor as well. You can see there, the red color dots happens to be the CPU, and the green color ones is the DRAM or the memory technology that we use. So you can see there's a huge difference between the CPU speeds and the memory speeds. So as a result, there are like the requirement is that the memory, since the memory is the unit that basically supplies the data and the instructions to the processor, it needs to be at least fast enough, right? So that the CPU can maintain its efficiency. Otherwise, the CPU will be like it's waiting for the content to arrive for the most of the time, right? So the efficiency, even though the CPUs are made like with really fast technologies, they can't operate at that speed due to the lack of content, right? So if we try to think about, okay, what are the solutions that we have to basically cater to this problem, right? It needs to be really, really fast, but it should be affordable as well, right? So the main types of technologies, if you just compare something like this, right? Now this happens to be some memory types that are currently being used, right? There are a lot more, but just for the sake of comparison, I've just selected three. You can see there over here, SRAM happens to be the fastest. We know that SRAM technology is used in cache memory and registers, right? But when it comes to the cost per bit, it's really expensive as well. You might be able to manufacture a computer that is consisting of SRAM, like the memory, like it'll cost you millions of dollars sometimes just to basically purchase that computer. So it doesn't it's not a viable solution because it's like it's you cannot afford it, right? And at the other opposite direction, if you consider the very cheap technologies such as the disk drives, they are utterly slow in speeds in comparison to the fastest RAMs, right? So we're talking about two extreme ends. One being the fast, we need it to be fast, as well as we need to be cheap as well. Might not be very cheap, but somewhat affordable in nature. So, what is the solution? Now, if I take you back, it's basically we're talking about a memory type, basically that caters to the requirement of being fast as well as affordable, right? So, what is the solution? Can we have a single memory type, right, that is really fast and also really affordable? That means really inexpensive, right, in nature, so that it caters to our requirement of being able to send the content to the processor at the right speeds and also being affordable as well at the same time. The solution is not to go for a single type of memory, but rather to go for like uh, a variety of memory technologies, right? That basically spans across being really fast and being really cheap, right? So you can observe now, since you have already studied about the memory hierarchy, when you move away from the processor, you get to experience certain memory technologies or storage technologies that are really inexpensive and that allows you to have a large amount of capacity, right? I'm talking about secondary storage devices such as hard drives, solid state drives, and magnetic tapes, and all of that, right? But when you move towards the processor, right, we need a memory type or a couple of memory types that can work at almost the speed of the processor. But since they are really expensive, we might have to sort of satisfy ourselves with a very small quantity of that, right? So towards the processor, we can observe that higher speed memory types are being allocated, which is more expensive, right? Now, if we try to put some names onto this, we have, as you would expect, within the processor, we have registers, and within the processor, we have a type of cache memory, that is a level of cache memory most of the time, level 1 and level 2, whereas level 3 might exist outside of the processor die on the motherboard. And we have RAM, the main memory that we all consider as the primary memory. And we have the secondary storage hard drives, right? So this is basically the solution to the problem. Having smaller quantities of really fast memory and then a very large capacity of inexpensive secondary storage, right? Having a variety like this allows us to cater or else bring the contents towards the processor at least up to its like to basically make it more efficient and also making the computer affordable as well. In the hard drive, in the secondary storage, what we usually store are files. Might be songs, movies, documents, programs, right? So those are the unit of entity or unit of content or data is actually known as a file. But we know for a practice, what happens is the content is actually broken off into like a more manageable and a flexible part called a page. So what happens is from the hard drive to the main memory or the RAM, we bring in a file, a part of the file called a page, right? Because the processor is actually not accessing the whole file at once. If you're watching a movie, so it might be a 2-hour movie, so you're watching a couple of seconds at a time, right? So there is no necessity for you to load the whole movie onto your RAM. If the file is small enough, then of course we might be able to load the whole file and then basically bring the instructions accordingly to the processor. But the thing is, it's not a necessity, right? You're accessing a very small part of the file at a given moment of time. So therefore, you don't need to load the whole file onto the RAM, maybe a part of it. So in this case, the part that is being loaded onto the RAM is generally known as a page, right? And from a page, towards the next level of memory, what we have happens to be the cache. And from a page, another minute like part of content called a block is being brought in to the cache memory. And again, now since the processor is accessing a single instruction at any given time, what we bring in to the processor is basically a single instruction that can be accessed by and then interpreted and executed by the processor. Now you can see, Bude, this particular hierarchy of different types of memory with different speeds and operating at purchased at different costs works. Why? Because of this particular flow of information, right? So this is why this memory hierarchy actually works. So if you go to the definition of what the memory hierarchy is, it's a memory system in the computer that is organized as a hierarchy of storage devices with different capacities, costs, and speeds, right? So if you put all of that into a vertical diagram, you get to see something like this, right? So the same thing in the animation what you saw, the bottommost layer is the slowest but the largest and also the cheapest type of memory. When you move yourself up, you get to experience faster, more expensive types of memory, but in smaller capacities.